My honor to call the City of Halstead City Council meeting to order. Are there any agenda changes?
Mr. Mayor, we would ask under new business, item number 7 be added, which would be consideration of the approval of the treasurer reports, which you all should have in front of you for June, July, and then the quarterly report for the second quarter. And then also ask under the executive session that we add an executive session for confidential data relating to financial affairs or trade secrets of corporations. Those are the only changes we have
Okay,
from staff.
we'll move along to public forum. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Don't see any movement, so we'll move right along to the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, after having reviewed the consent agenda submitted, I would make a motion to approve it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That is unanimous and carries.
Thank you.
No unfinished business. New business, the senior citizen funding request.
Hi, my name is Donna Clanton. I'm the new director at the Halstead Senior Center. And I have with me Mary Jo Hall, who is our treasurer, and also Joe Roberts, who's a member of the Senior Center. This is new to me, so I hope I'm doing this right. Basically, as far as a financial allocation for the center, of course, we're a nonprofit, and so we rely 100% on mill levy funding, generous donations, fundraising, and grants that we apply for that keep our doors open and the building looking good to serve our community. What we would do with the financial allocation would be, number one, take care of our utilities, which would be the Halstead, City of Halstead, Evergy, and Knisley Brothers for trash collection. In 2025, these services cost an average of $363 per month for a total of $4,350 for the year. Other expenses include just insuring our building. Last year, that cost us $5,546. This year, it's going to cost us $6,000 to insure the building. So, of course, everything goes up every year. Also, just expenses that we have are for contract help. Last year was just under $12,000. Miscellaneous expenses include paper goods were approximately $6,400. Office cleaning and just miscellaneous supplies were $3,000. AT&T phone service and internet ran us just over $2,000 last year. And then mowing and lawn services were just under $2,000. So those are just kind of off the top. There's other expenses that aren't listed in here, but those are probably the bulk of our expenses. And then as far as fundraising, what we do every year, I'm sure most of you have heard about, are pepper nuts. Those are a hot item, and we're getting ready to start that in September. So we're already starting to purchase our materials for that, which would be the flour, the brown sugar, eggs, butter. I've got 80 pounds of butter in my freezer at the center right now, getting ready to start. We'll start in September and end sometime early December, depending on when we reach our goal of 900 pounds. We were selling those for $12 a pound last year, so and we got them all sold. At the end, we discounted them a little bit to get them out the door, but mostly got rid of all of them, so that was a good thing. We also do bingo 2 times a month and bring in, it depends on how many people and how many cards are bought, anywhere from $200 to $400. We did our Old Settlers Breakfast, and that brought in about $700. We'll also be doing a soup supper in February. We did a soup supper in February. We'll be doing another one this fall. And then other sources of income we have are we rent the center out. We're selling cookbooks, and then we also sell scrubbers that are handmade by one of our members. We also apply for grants. Last year, we applied for the interest grant and were awarded $10,000, which we put towards carpeting, which if anybody saw it, you would know it was desperately needed. We were also hoping to get a little more to replace the vinyl and in the kitchen, hallways, and the bathrooms. We ended up getting a really generous donation of $10,000, so we did complete the carpet and the vinyl in the main dining room and the kitchen, hallway, and the bathrooms. So this year, we're also going to apply for the Intrust Bank grant, looking to get the outside painted, replace some of our siding that is starting to warp, and the fascia board that's rotting. We've got bids on that, so again, we'll apply for that grant, and hopefully that'll help improve the outside of the building and make it look a little bit better. We were also awarded the Halstead Community Foundation grant this year, and we received it last year too. That was $1,500 that we put towards our meal program. This year, we started our meal program back up in June, working with Daphne May's Cafe. They were doing meals 2 times a week, Wednesdays and Fridays. They cost $7 a meal, but that's not profit to us. That's just paying for the meal itself. This past, or just today, actually, we had 31 meals that we served to the community. 13 were dine-in, 5 were delivery, and then we had 13 carry-out meals. That number just keeps growing, so that's a good thing, I think, also. We've also been working with the Kansas Learning Center for Health, Healthy Minds and Healthy Bodies series that they're putting on. So every Wednesday at 10:30, we have a different guest speaker talking about different topics that hopefully will interest our seniors. Today we had Jolene Ross come, and she presented her history on Halstead, which is really a fun topic to watch. Next week, we're going to have Idea Tech come in, and they're going to talk about the services that they offer, and they're going to, I think, door prize for a Roku that they're going to hand out. And then last week, we had a mosaic making class with Mary, so we made little coasters, and that was a lot of fun, too. So again, we're getting a lot of people coming into the center and just building up that clientele. We also do Common Grounds Producers and Growers Farmers Market. It's the first Wednesday of the month, and they're just for about 30 minutes. They get there at noon, bring in some fresh produce, have good prices on it, so that's really a great benefit for our community. We also have Hermes Foot Clinic every other month, so seniors can come there and have their feet looked at, toenails trimmed, whatever they have going on with that. These are registered nurses that provide the service to these seniors. And this year, we're going to offer a vaccination clinic starting on October the 7th. In this vaccination clinic, they can get COVID shots, pneumonia shots, flu shots, RSV, shingles, and tetanus shots. And then we've also started up our Facebook, so hopefully people are following that, and you can see all these great services that we're providing. So with that, we just appreciate your consideration for this allocation for the senior center. Any questions for me?
Well, I was about to ask, do you have a social media outlet for all these services, and so I'm gonna join your group and keep track of what you're doing over there?
Yes, the
Sounds like you're
Facebook, we send out a
busy.
newsletter. I get a hold of Julie, and she posts up on the marquee for us, so.
Yeah, very good.
Are you still getting meals from Daphne May, or are you able to do meals from within? Is that a goal of yours to get away from, or will you continue to?
Right now, I think we'll continue with Daphne May's, because that's also providing a service to the community, helping her restaurant out. We would have to have a lot more volunteers to get a real meal program going. Right now, I have 3 people that rotate on deliveries for me, and 2 or 3 ladies that come in and help me in the kitchen just to box up and serve the people at the center.
Thank you for the report. It was outstanding,
Thank
very
you.
thorough.
Job.
Yeah, very good. Mr. Mayor, if don't have any more questions, I'll make a motion to approve the annual donation senior center for the amount not to exceed $5,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next topic is the Mausoleum Foundation repairs.
Okay, hello all, everyone. So just a continuation of our discussions with the Mausoleum Foundation. Just brought some contractors here. We have Thrasher, Spartan Ramjack, and IWP here to talk about their proposals, their companies, and go over any questions you may have. And, you know, obviously they'll cover their recommended solutions. So with that, I'm just gonna go alphabetical, and we'll have IWP present first. IWP's proposals has changed a little bit, and they'll cover that, but I'm gonna hand out copies.
Hi, everyone. Thomas Lane with IWP. This is Tobias, so GM at IWP. Yeah, we handed out kind of a revised proposal. Tobias showed me earlier, and we kind of tweaked a few things. Really just kind of starting on the interior, kind of adjusted the concrete patch slightly to be able to kind of get in the crawl space to form the concrete floor. It changed a little bit, just kind of our price slightly on that to be able to kind of get back to where it is currently. And then we kind of on the exterior piers, kind of looking at that as optional. Could probably, you know, could be good to preserve the outside on the foundation there, but I think really focusing on the interior would be kind of our main focus initially. Yeah, and then Tobias, did you looked me there earlier? Sorry.
Yeah, no, we took a look at it earlier today, just to refresh Thomas on what he had seen out there when he was out there originally, and then for me to get an opportunity just to take a look at it. And so realistically, what's going on there is you have interior settlement of an interior stem wall, okay? And that is really the south end of the mausoleum, the east wall that sort of separates the sort of, what would you call that? I don't know. The above-ground coffin storage. That's probably not the word, but that's really where that is. And you can see that in the damage. There's some pictures that Thomas has included in the proposal here towards the back. But in those Gothic arches, which as you look south, you can really see the damage there. And that's a little bit of settlement is happening, a little bit of interior roll, meaning that foundation is just rolling a little bit towards the interior there, which is creating a lot of the damage that you're seeing on those masonry walls. So that is where the bulk of the settlement is occurring. The outside really is optional, and I say optional, meaning you probably don't need it. If you look at the outside of that building, there's no damage on that masonry. There's nothing to suggest that there's movement there at this time. I was actually shocked to see that there wasn't damage on the tile floor itself, that slate. It was, and unless that has been regrouted at some point, I was kind of shocked to see that none of those joints were open and none of those tile had been broken. So that's just indicative that it's happening relatively slowly, but you're at the point now where you're starting to see physical damage where the stone's falling down on the interior and things like that. So really those interior piers that you see, and they're numbered there for you, P1 through P7 is really what you would be there. And his default proposal is to do a push pier or a resistance pier there. I think the opportunity exists, and it may even be needed that we switch to a helical pier in that location because of the potential offset between the stem wall below and the masonry walls above that floor. So if those walls, if the front edifice of those walls below and above aren't really close, right, as far as their location, it's pretty hard to install a push pier without damaging one or the other, because the push pier requires a vertical drive stand that is going to put a lot of hydraulic force on that, and they tend to rock a little bit as they pressure up and pressure down. And so We may be forced into that, but we may also it may all just be the better way to go. In the end, there's really no difference as far as what the outcome is or what the warranty is. There's a little bit of a potential savings, if we're able to use that different type of pier that I talked about. It also probably lets us reduce the size of the hole that we need to create in the floor in order to gain access for that foundation. So, the challenge there would be, the equipment would be a little bit different to get it to the inside, because a helical pier has to be hydraulically driven, right? So on a rotary basis. So you'd have a small, essentially electric backhoe type of piece of equipment that would have to get access to that in order to hold the drive head in place. And then we would have to power it hydraulically from outside the building with a larger unit or an auxiliary unit there. So that would potentially put more of that tile at risk. But our suggestion is to have, a tile company come in and do a removal of that. That way they can catalog the existing location of each of those tiles so they can recreate that pattern without having to buy new tile, right? And increase costs for you that way. So assuming they can get it up without breaking it, right? Which is a bit of an, you can hope and pray. There's no way to guarantee that. And no tile company probably would either. So, sort of other caveats there, ductwork that is there, we would need that to be temporarily removed in order to gain access at the end in order to repair the holes that we would have to create. That is a structural floor in there. So we would have to patch that really, really well in order to reconstitute the structural integrity of that slab. So those are all, but removing that ductwork would give us access in there. And then there is some outlets that are in the floor, the surface of the floor. I'm not sure if those are still active or in use, but the potential exists for those to be disrupted and need to be reinstalled by, a certified and licensed electrician, which would also be not part of our scope.
So what's the size of the hole that you want to cut in the floor?
Yeah, so depends. If we use the push pier version of it, you're probably talking about 2.5 by 2.5 square, so rather large. Conversely, if we are able to use a helical pier there, or if we're forced to use a helical pier there, then your hole would be probably 16 inches or so in diameter, maybe a little bit less than that, but you're probably in that neighborhood. And that would be then a round hole. We would core those in order to keep them round, which will help.
So there would be
maintain-
several of
There would be
those.
several, one at each pier location. Correct. Being around, it would sort of help with the structural integrity of that versus, an interior. A square cut is gonna be a little bit weaker than a round one, so. But that floor, it's not being asked to span quite far on the interior, because there's a lot of interior stem walls there that are supporting that floor. Looking at it from the basement, you can see where some spalling has happened on the floor itself, and where when they poured the floor, the rebar sort of settled down, which is very common. But it looks like there is number 3 bar going in both directions. Which number 3 bar is 3/8 in diameter, so about the diameter of my pinky. Going in both directions, approximately every 6 inches is what it looks like. It's a little bit haphazard, but there's a pattern down there that I was able to measure, and it averages about 3 pieces per 12 inches when you measure it. So,
So if we did the 2 foot by 2 foot square, it's 7 of those.
correct. Yeah. So it's quite a lot. I mean, either way, it's a big disruption. I don't want to.
Which is why you're saying remove the floor, not just an area. It's pretty much taking it out.
We would want to probably do selective demo of those locations so that you don't have as much repair. Also, and then you run the risk of compromising the other half of the building.
And are you gonna, is part of your bid to patch that?
Correct. It is. It's part of it. That's included.
But it's up to us to do replace the ductwork and any of the outlets
Ductwork removal and replacement will be
on the floor.
for you guys. Tile removal and replacement will be for you guys. And the electrical outlets would be, you don't necessarily have to remove them, but understand that from where they're located, I think it would probably it wouldn't be in a place where we would remove concrete, but the possibility exists that the service to that outlet would be disrupted during the work. So it may need to be reconstituted, need to be rewired, if that makes sense.
You mentioned disruption of the structural, like the possibility of, I mean, you can't guarantee that you're not going, like with the rebar that runs through there, right? So like, if that's broken, then the chance, and like, we're doing that 7 times, so the chances of disrupting that 7 times and then, right?
Yep.
Like, you can't fix that once it's disrupted,
So
right?
yes and no.
Oh, it's
Okay, so you can imagine that rebar's running sort of end to end, meaning from stem wall to stem wall, okay? And at various times, they're gonna have laps, which would be encased in the concrete itself, okay? When you core through that, obviously the metal will be removed, it will be broken. I can't replace the tension that would be created inherent when they originally poured it. What we can create is the deflective strength, meaning when we go to rebuild that, we can drill in epoxy stubs of rebar in there in order to keep the vertical movement to a minimum, and really zero is what you're going for there. But that can be recreated. What I can't create is the internal tension of that rebar. As it has moved, it has sort of stretched and done what it does, so it sort of has some internal tension. That would definitely be released. There's no way to recreate that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank
Okay.
you.
You know, that's the real important load, I mean, the lateral distribution of that, because that floor acts as a diaphragm sending those loads laterally. When you cut that rebar, even if you put it, like you say, it's only gonna support the concrete from going down.
Correct.
Doesn't reestablish the transmission of tension.
Right, and I would say that tension is not the most important factor in this case because of the location of the stem walls and their spacing. They're relatively close together. I'm not saying that there's no concern there, I just don't, it's not the most important component. Because you're not asking, the way it was designed and the way it was constructed, they're not asking that floor to free span over large lengths. So, yep. But yeah, you're not wrong, we're concerned about the same thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right.
Any others?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Appreciate it.
All right, we'll have William with Spartan Ramjack come up.
I can make copies and get individual ones to you guys. I'm kind of always in the area, so I can, and I apologize about that, but I do have a basic diagram if you guys want to pass that around. But I met with Tyler. Go ahead.
They have the.
Okay.
They were provided previously.
Awesome. Me and Tyler got together, we set up a laser level in that area there. It actually was pretty, when I was reading my notes on the way out there, I've drove past that mausoleum 1,000 different times, always kind of wanted to get a close look at it, but like I was telling the gentleman over here, we did hundreds and hundreds of piers on that south housing addition, or housing, the low-income place over in the south end town. So I know the depth out here. We drive our piers anywhere from 55 to 60 feet till we hit something solid. We set up a laser level, and I was kind of impressed with the overall integrity of the building. I thought I was going to come into a real mess there. It was pretty easy. We set that laser up, and it really just was amplified to that one area in question, and it was kind of a 10-foot span there. What I want to do is take out a 10-by-4 section. So you have one area that you're taking out. You can get the piers put back in. I think the cleanup and the finish is going to be more clean if you have one big access area. We can get our 3 piers in that area. Like I said, you're only talking about a 10-foot section, so you're talking about a pier on each corner and one in the middle there. Again, we shot that with the laser level. It's amplified to that one spot. We actually shot it from corner to corner all the way around, took a look at everything. You got plenty of reference on the outside with the stone building to look for any kind of additional settlement. The place was actually an impressive structural standing, with the exception of that one area. To be honest with you, I don't know why it's that one area, but it is. It's 2 inches difference from that one particular area to corner, northeast, southwest. but it made my job easy. I could find the one spot that it was amplified at that point. I like the push piers because, one, it eliminates the heavy equipment, the real heavy equipment that's gonna be, with the push pier system, I mean, it's pretty simple. You got a controller in your hand, you run your hoses to an outside pump. The cleanup will be nice. In the bid, it does have on there, we will take out the concrete. I hate it because it is a little complicated. We got concrete guys, but we're not a concrete company at the end of the day. So that would be one thing that might be a little frustrating at the end of the day, because that would be something that would have to be subcontracted out. I can always stick with you guys. I can find somebody to put that concrete back, but at the end of the day, I would like to hand that off to a concrete company that, one, would appreciate the work, and one, I know that would do a good job. So, like I said, our concrete guys, we do patchwork every day, all day. It's just not our specialty as a company. We're a foundation repair company. We kind of stay in our lane and stick to our specialty at the end of the day. What I like about our piering system, we don't have a death clause on something like that, so that thing can drive 80 feet. It's not gonna affect the cost of the project. There's no hidden costs in there. The cost that you got is the cost it'll cost at the end of the day. We don't ask for any money down. We don't get paid until we're done with the project and everybody's happy. It kind of keeps us genuine throughout the process. You know, you don't put it down a bunch of money. So we want to get paid, so we want to get it right. This is going to be our baby all the way through. So, but I hate to oversimplify it, and that may be a detriment to me, but it also may be a perk at the end of the day. I just really try to oversimplify it because it really was a big, complicated building. It really was simplified to that one spot. Like I said, I've done, no exaggeration, thousands and thousands of those piers. I've done hundreds of them here in the Halstead area. I got a pretty good idea of what the depth is going to be out in this area. But like I said, sometimes, you know, you got to be careful with some of those depth clauses because they're only good to a certain depth, and then it starts costing people out of pocket. If it goes 90 feet, we just eat the money. You know, I mean, like I said, it's not unheard of for us to go 60, 70 feet out in this area, but I'm guessing it's going to be right around 55 feet till we hit something solid. So main thing is the meat and potatoes of it is obviously a long-term warranty, transferable. I know I say that transferable because I deal with a lot of residential, obviously. I don't think you guys are gonna sell the building, but like I said, that warranty will stick with the actual building itself throughout the lifetime of the building. So, like I said, and we were talking about a little bit of, you know, preventative piers and things like that. That building's no spring chicken, you know, and it resides on a very volatile soil. So again, I was fairly impressed with that. The movement wasn't worse than what it was when I originally went out there. I thought I was going to go corner to corner and really sell a bunch of piers on that darn thing, but I'll tell you what, it's just right there in that one area. So I guess that's a good news, bad news. It's not the funnest way. It's not new countertops. It's not new flooring at the end of the day, but that really is amplified to that one spot. So it made it pretty simple.
So the concrete repair is in your quote included in your
The
quote?
concrete removal is in the
But the
quote.
replacement of the floor is not?
It's not in the proposal.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And like I said, I mean, I'd be happy to stick with somebody and try to find out contractors, and I know the area well enough. I know people from the Hutch area and the Newton area and stuff like that. I'm sure we can find somebody and we can coordinate with them. But I just really think you'd get a better product at the end of the day to have somebody that does it every day, all day.
Do you have an idea of what plugging that?
Yeah, so let's see what I had on there as far as square footage. I think I had a 4x10 section that I wanted to get out of there. Were you asking kind of ballpark what that would cost on
Ballpark to
something like?
replace
Yeah,
that
so it's generally going to be right around $100 per square foot. You're talking about right around 40 square foot. Now I think that's a false number because it's going to be a little bit of mobilization for them to get out, set up, and all that good stuff. If you wanted a rough number on something like that, $1,200, you know, and that's. But I hate to speak too much for another contractor until they actually look at it. But it's not going to be, you know, tens of thousands of dollars or anything like that. So, but we're proud of our piers. We're proud of the quality of them. We try to keep our prices down. We don't get rich off these things, you know. But at the end of the day, we try to keep our prices down. And I think if you look at the numbers on that, you got a little bit of wiggle room for the next contractor to come in and put a little bit of that money in your back pocket and wait for the contractor bid on the concrete. But again, there's no hidden cost in there. That cost that I have on there is what it'll be. I drink a lot of coffee and I talk like an auctioneer, so tell me to slow down and shut up. I don't know how to do anything else, so.
So same kind of idea, going through the concrete,
Yep.
right?
Yes.
So no concerns also in regards, and I don't mean to be a broken record, I just wanna make sure everyone's agreeing, like, still no concerns in regards of structural integrity of anything, and then, I know you said, like, it's gonna be like down to the dirt, like 4x10, you're just like digging all of that out and then,
Yeah, it's gonna be a small little workspace there. Yeah, it's gonna be our little construction zone at the end of the day, but we try to keep
you're
it.
like tunneling places, or that's just
No,
all
we're gonna
that's
have access, so we're
necessary?
basically gonna be on top of our work area there. So, yeah, there's no tunneling, there's no,
Sorry, I'm just trying to make
They're
sure I
cutting
understand
a
what's.
4 by 10 foot long
Yes, I got it.
hole in the floor, and they'll be standing in there working.
yeah, it's gonna be a little,
And those 3 push pier support are enough to do what?
yeah, and it was darn close to being able to get away with 2, but the number just came out just wrong there to where I had to add a third pier, and I hated that. I almost went with 2 of them, but that would kind of be compromised and spread out a little further than what I was comfortable with. But with the 3, they're a little tighter than what we need by a couple feet, but at the same time, we got what we need to stabilize that affected area. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, you bet.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate you.
We'll have Jacob with Thrasher come up and talk about his proposal.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to be efficient here, not just be a broken record and repeat what my counterparts have constantly said, and Tobias beautifully illustrated a lot of the mechanisms basically at play here essentially. And bear with me, I'm not a public speaker, that's why I'm in foundation repair, so just be patient with me. But the 2 major differences between the proposals that I've heard so far up to this point is gonna be the quantity and the warranty. So as far as the quantity goes, on the inside, I also set up a laser level when I met with Tyler. The problem area I figured when I measured up the laser level was down 1.75 inches, so pretty close to that 2-inch mark like he was illustrating earlier, which would grant our quantity of 3 push piers to go vertically, through the subfloor, take up 2 by 2 foot sections of concrete to go directly underneath there, in order to permanently stabilize that area. And then as far as the exterior goes, Tobias was correct in stating that there was minimal damage as far as the exterior of the wall goes. The only difference would be the perspective. So if the perspective is you want to wait for damage to happen and have the same problem you have now with more visceral damage, that would be, obviously the choice of the people who ever oversee the solutions for this project. I, however, do recommend that the exterior be done at the same time to prevent this whole problem from happening again in the future. Essentially to just address all problems at once, regardless if they're just a little bit damaged or a lot damaged, we want to prevent all damage from happening in the future. And then the next part of it would be, we could go through the details and the specs all day long about what we use, how far we drive them down, the depth clause, what we use to read the depth, how far we push them down, which is 5,000 PSI, to make sure that you do hit bedrock and you're on a permanent, basically stabilization table. But really what it boils down to is the guarantees that the company's gonna make behind their work. So with Thrasher, we're the only company that offers a very clear 25-year guarantee behind the stabilization of this project. And in the state of Kansas, unless there's a specified amount of years with the warranty, you run the risk of having it capped off at about 4 to 7 years if it's a limited lifetime warranty. There has to be a specified amount of years in order to really enforce that. And I think that's something that's important given like what we're working on here, since it is a mausoleum. I think it should be very clear about the guarantees and the warranties that you have behind that work. And then in addition to that, the way that I kind of look at this is the building is in need of a surgery, more so to speak, if you were just kind of compared to like the human body. And at the end of the day, if you're going to have a surgery, would you want a surgeon who's done basically thousands upon thousands of these surgeries and has the best track record, the best warranty, integrity torch awards from the Better Business Bureau, which in my opinion is the biggest thing that sets us apart from every other foundation company. Because what that states essentially is the Better Business Bureau gives out an award every 4 years called the Integrity Torch Award. And in order to be eligible for that award, you have to have 0 customer complaints by the end of each calendar year. And that's not to say mistakes don't happen, because in the construction industry, obviously mistakes are made, and that's just part of the business and the nature of the beast, to be honest. But really what sets companies apart is basically who goes back out there, who owns those problems, and who makes sure that those people are taken care of, right? So Thrasher is the only foundation company for the last 20 years to win that from the Better Business Bureau every single 4 years. So that's something that we're super proud of. And then moreover with that, so the guarantees that we make along with a project like this is gonna be, the first one is satisfaction. So again, given the sensitivity of a building like this and the fact that I'm imagining we don't want to revisit this problem over and over and over, given what that building is, I think the satisfaction guarantee is probably the most important here, followed by the property protection guarantee. So that is also something that we make as well. We'll always stand behind our work, and if something does happen, that's, so to speak, catastrophic, bless you, which is a very low likelihood of happening, you have a company that will stand behind that, and will fix that. So all in all, we do recommend 7 piers total. We recommend 3 on the interior and then 4 on the exterior, just given the minimal amount of damage that we have out there. Again, it's not as visceral as what you're seeing on the interior of the building, but nevertheless, like, these problems don't get better with time. It's only a matter of time before it's going to get worse. And then we run the possibility of that spreading and then looking at a bigger cost down the road. And I understand that taking up the concrete subfloor in the building was one of the biggest hurdles here. Like, that was one of the things that everybody did not want to have to do, myself included. And in some projects like this, we have had luck with being able to excavate enough soil out of the interior of the crawl space and able to get sufficient force and basically get our equipment down there more or less, and manpower to do the work. However, in a case like this, I really wish that was the route we could go, but, you know, just like the other 2 counterparts that spoke earlier, I think taking up the subfloor concrete is going to be the best bet here. So we would take up the subfloor, which is the concrete. As far as putting it back, I do agree that a professional concrete company should do that. If it were like a warehouse or something of that nature, I would be more confident in doing that, but since it's, you know, a sensitive area, I just think a professional should handle that to make sure that it looks nice and tidy once it's done. And that's really the overall theme of what we have going on here. I guess I can open it up to you guys for any questions that you have that hasn't already been answered up to this point.
Well, this question I wish I would have asked the other 2 fellas. How often do you have to actually open up a concrete floor that is actually structural? How often do you come across this scenario?
It's pretty rare. Yeah, I would say it's pretty rare. I would say probably 1 out of 50 to 1 out of 65 properties is we run into a situation like this. But we've been in business since 1975, so if there's anybody who's seen this type of stuff, we have seen it. You know, we are the tip of the spear in terms of this type of technology. We may not be the cheapest company out there, but as far as the advancement of technology goes and the quality of work goes, we like to think we are the tip of the spear in that and have the track record to back that and prove that. And then moreover, so we also deal the same products and ethics to over 127 companies all throughout the United States. So basically every single state in the US as well as a few properties in Canada, or locations in Canada, I should say. We do, you know, help oversee like just the technology that they're using, the methods that they're using, just to ensure that everybody's doing things up to par. And the good thing about that is if there's somebody like at one of our locations in Canada, Texas, California, that find out a better way to do something, the greatest part about that network is they share all of that information with us, so we're all collectively working to find the best methods and the best processes to make sure we're doing this the right way and not creating more problems down the road, essentially. But at the end of the day, the most important thing to Thrasher, being that we're a family-owned company, is going to be our reputation. So essentially what that equates to is making sure that our people are taken care of. So essentially whatever it takes to get the job done correctly. At the end of the day, the proposal that I gave, the price isn't going to change regardless. I know it was talked a little bit earlier about a depth clause of how far we have to, you know, push those piers down regardless of what we have to do to accomplish that. That's not going to fall back on you guys should we run into something. It would fall back onto me, right? So hopefully it doesn't come to that point, right? But just give you guys a peace of mind as the, you know, the decision makers for the mausoleum. But it's a good question.
Best guess on
the cost it would take to fix the floor once it's done? Not counting the tile,
Well,
because the tile might even be available,
right,
the type of tile that's there.
sure.
But in terms of those holes you're putting there, best guess what, because you guys don't do that, you said you want a contractor to do that. Best guess, what's he gonna charge us?
So, this is one thing at Thrasher, we don't like to do is make guesses, right? We like to make educated decisions, but if you put my feet to the fire here and guesstimate. To have it done quality, like a real company that's not gonna cut corners, things like that, it's going to be expensive, there's no doubt about that. But I really, again, I hate to make guesses, so please don't quote me on that, but I would say probably at least 10,000.
It'd be hard for us to make a decision to go with you people if we don't know what the final episode is gonna cost us.
Sure. Yeah, and that's understandable. And just like the counterparts mentioned earlier, we've been more than happy. We work with concrete contractors every single day. So if we need to get a bid to see exactly what it would take to put it back, we can take a look at that. We were really inclined to want to do this ourselves, but again, you know, given the sensitivity of the property, I'd rather a professional do that,
I understand that.
handle that, so.
Would, on everybody that spoke today, pretty much line up different parts. But I would have to see what the final product's gonna be.
Exactly.
Before, so.
If you guys are okay with me adding something.
Oh, yeah.
When we were out there,
Can you please come up? I mean, if you're back there, sometimes it doesn't pick up the greatest.
no problem.
You can use mine.
This might benefit those guys as well, so everybody's on the same page. While we were out there today, we were able to pull up that vent register that's in that inside corner near the damaged area. And we were able to actually pull, there's a little sheet metal sort of box that's in there. We were able to pull that out and visually inspect that area. There is a pretty sizable crack on that little east-west return wall before it turns back and goes back toward the south. And so I'm not sure exactly where theirs are located. I haven't seen their information, but I suspect they're probably just along the north-south span near what's labeled as the private room on the drawing. But because of that crack there that is on that east-west span, that's why our piers continue to go around the corner and down that south wall, because that is broken there. And so that foundation is in two pieces there. So that's why ours go around the corner. So that may change a little bit of the way that they would approach it if they could have seen it. We wouldn't, from the basement looking into the access to the crawl space, it wasn't visible to us from there, right? Because there isn't a whole lot of, with the ductwork there, it's hard to see very far and to get it clear, obviously, what's behind that. So when we were able to pull that, we had the advantage of being able to see that stem wall being broken. And so that may end up changing the way they would approach it as well. But I just wanted to add that before it adjourned, at least to this part of it. So, but yeah, if you have other questions, I'm happy to answer those too.
But none of you have any methods of doing this without cutting holes in the floor?
None that I could see. I mean, Jacob had mentioned, sometimes there are opportunities to do it from the crawl space area, but you need about 50 inches of overall space to go from the bottom of your foundation or your stem wall to the bottom of the floor above. And you have about, depending on where you measure it down there, I mean, you're probably in the 18 to 22. And even if there's some part of that wall is unexcavated right now, you're probably on the outside 12 inches, if any, right? So sometimes they just sit right on the surface, but, so you maybe can get to 30 inches, 36 inches on that, and it's just not gonna be enough to be able to do it underneath without cutting that floor open in some respect, yeah.
Thank you.
I do have information that I'll talk about in terms of the concrete costs and the tile costs that I'll bring up. But before I do that, just wanted to bring Jacob back up for any other questions that you might have. Sure.
Yeah, and I'll just piggyback off of what Tobias was saying. So I actually went back out to the property as soon as they had the ducting removed. I don't know, a month and a half, 2 months ago at this point. And he's correct, the foundation is in two pieces, right? So it's cracked and basically you have two corners where it turns. So essentially that is what equated what solution we would use, because we want to basically hook each corner and cap them off so that way we're not just leaving one of the corners exposed. So essentially, each corner we have right there is the reason that we have 3 piers in the crawl space there. And then apart from that, so I know that the concrete question is like the biggest question mark right now, but apart from that question and putting back the concrete, is there any other questions for me as far as the efficacy of the product, the history of the product, the method of which we put it in, anything like that?
How often do you get into a project and then realize like you do need more, like, I mean, I know you guys have been around for a long time, you've mentioned that a couple of times, but so how often, like, do you get down in the middle of a project and then realize in order to do it right, you know, and so then that changes things? Or is there any kind of
Yeah.
guarantee to the quote that if, once you get in there and more things are needed, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Sure.
are we gonna
Yeah.
then sign up for more things, or whose responsibility does that fall on?
Yes, that's a good question. And the first stop there would be like, who's taking a look at the property? What kind of training they go through? What kind of continuing education do they have? You know, how much history do they have doing these types of projects? That's going to be the first stop. The second stop is going to be what kind of company stands behind them in terms of the guarantees that we make. So we make guarantees everywhere that the product's going to go. In this case, it's everywhere where we have interior damage inside the mausoleum. So that's where you would be covered. Now, given the fact that the foundation is settling, the reason that it's settling is because it's sitting in backfill soil. Essentially, when the foundation was constructed, you know, all the excavation equipment was brought in, they tore all that soil out of the earth, then they poured those foundation walls and the interior walls in that backfill soil. And essentially, soil is constantly moving, constantly shifting, so that's going to be the root cause of the problem. So you're gonna have guarantees and warranties exactly where our products go, but ultimately, the whole foundation's sitting in the same soil, so you're still susceptible to the same problem in different areas. So if that were to happen, that's not something that we would cover just because you don't have an active problem in a different area right now. So you would have coverage exactly where we're going. But for the sake of this proposal, everything that we're proposing to fix, which is the visible damage that we have on the inside of the building, you would have a guarantee to have that fixed. And we've, you know, Thrasher's we're in basically 5 different states. And of course, we run into projects, you know, where we get in there and there's things that happen that are unforeseen. But like I said earlier, that always falls back onto Thrasher because we want to make sure the customer's taken care of and not hit you with another $1,000, $10,000 bill at the end of the day or whatever the case may be. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
Just for the record, we do have earthquakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've actually sat through them here in this town, so I know what you're talking about when it comes to foundations.
Yeah, and earthquakes, that's, you know, I hear that a lot. That's,
And not long ago either.
yeah, and they serve, I mean, in Kansas, the magnitude of those earthquakes is they oftentimes just kind of expose existing conditions or like pre-existing conditions. It'd have to be something pretty sizable to create the problem. So most of the time, if not 99.99% of the time, the problem is the backfill soil, which is why we drill down to the bedrock to bypass that. So, yeah, that's a good comment there. But apart from that, any other questions? Anything else?
We appreciate it, thank you
No,
so much.
thank you so much.
Okay, so thanks again for everyone who showed up. Thank you for talking about your proposals. I appreciate your willingness to come out and speak. I know it might have been a little awkward with multiple people here, but we really appreciate all the information so we can make the most educated decision. And on that, with making the most educated decision, just have some more information in terms of some estimates. These aren't gonna be exact quotes, obviously, you know, it depends on which route you all decide to move forward with. But just a little bit better numbers for the slate tile replacement, and the floor, just the concrete replacement of the floor. So, concrete replacement would run for, I just did 3 foot by 3 foot areas, in the floor, and so it'd be 2,500 for concrete, so that's about $830 per patch. And then slate tiles actually runs about the same, $2,500 plus $600 for shipping, because it's coming from Vermont. Again, discussed earlier, it's not gonna look exactly the same. It will be that same green, purple, red slate tile, but it's not gonna have the same finish because they don't make that finish anymore. So just keeping that in mind, and obviously it's gonna look a little different with it being, those spots being brand new versus, something that's been in the building for almost 100 years. So that's also running 2,500. So combined for the slate tile and the floor, you're looking at $1,700 per little section, so per 3 foot by 3 foot section. So about $570 per square feet. So depending on which route, that's the price you're looking at. That does not include install of the slate tile. So you would still have to get a contractor to give us a price there. Probably about $5,000 for that work is my guess. So, and then one other thing with the Mausoleum Foundation, Ethan had a meeting with the engineering firm because we talked about maybe potentially getting a structural engineer to come look at it. So I'll let him talk about that. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's largely gonna depend on what questions exactly the city would want answered. I mean, but anywhere from 2,500 all the way up to 10,000. Again, that depends on the level of analysis we would, scope out. And it was very hard to say of, what exact questions we would want answered. Is it literally just, an analysis of the building? Kind of their opinion on the structural efficacy of the floor, what kind of issues it's gonna cause, or are we gonna want, more formal analysis of them trying to look and, even maybe determine why exactly that one section may be settling compared to the rest of the building, so. And I think that pretty much runs the line. I know, George, you had a contact as well that
That's very similar to what he was saying.
I think a lot of that depends on, and that was the biggest thing they asked us. They would want the city to clearly define what are you asking them to evaluate? So.
Question for one of the contractors or all of you. When we talk about engineering type of things in that regard, sure, we could hire one for the city. I'm sure that you guys have your own, I'm guessing, for that. Am I correct on that assumption, or?
I think everybody probably has pretty much the same setup. You sort of have an engineer that's a consulting engineer that's pretty low cost. They'll do sort of preliminary design for you so that you can make sure that your loads, or at least aren't gonna overcome what you're installing. And then we'll have to have a third-party engineer that carries a stamp in the state of Kansas actually review the preliminary design, confirm that all the calculations are correct, make their own drawing, and then they have to stamp it, and that's typically required for permitting processes. Now, that may not be true for your city, but if it is, that's certainly the process that we would follow, because that's very common across the metro, MABCD, City of Hutchinson, all the, Salina, Lawrence, Manhattan, Topeka, they're all pretty much that sort of format. So is that, even if it's different, you guys are welcome to correct me.
Thank you.
I think from all of us, we want it fixed right. We want to know the total cost of what we're getting ourselves into. And we just want to know it's right when you
Not
leave.
do more damage.
Yeah, and not do any more than
That
what
sounds like what their engineers would be mostly looking at.
Yeah, and that's,
Something just real quick, like, and
Yeah.
it's just, we had talked a little bit about potential and possible movement. I'm gonna revert back to the fact that that building's been sitting there a long time, and we do a lot of work in this area for a reason. You reside on a volatile soil. So one thing that's important, and I'm sure it's a standard at the end of the day, when we're done, we want to know where that building in its entirety is setting when we leave. So basically, we would set up a laser level, shoot it from corner to corner, including our area in which we work in. That's important for you guys, but it's also important for us. So we basically know where that building was sitting at when we left. If we ever need to check it, we set that laser level up. It's real simple. You just find you find your benchmarks, as I call them. It'll basically monitor the areas in which we're not working. But I just have a real good feeling about the fact that, you know, if it was gonna move, it would have moved by now. That being said, I get the preventative piers at the end of the day, but I'd like to know where that building is sitting at when we leave. It protects you, it protects us as well. So that's important, benchmarks long-term, so.
That's all I had. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
guys.
Thank
so
you very much.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Moving on to the Williams Second Edition, Phase One, final plat.
So you have the plat as approved by the Planning Commission for the Williams Second Edition Phase One. Part of that process for you all as council is you're not approving the plat, you're approving basically any public dedications of public easements or rights-of-way. There's not a lot of right-of-way change since this is along the existing 10th Street street right-of-way. There is a couple of new utility easements, which fall in line with our subdivision regulations for what would be needed. So just a motion to accept those dedications per the plat would be appropriate unless for some reason you all would not want to accept those.
Looking for a motion?
Real quick, that's for the 1 through 6, right?
It's actually only for that very corner property right there by Williams Park that's highlighted.
The block 1?
Yep.
Okay, that's what I was wondering about, because it's like, that was separate from these guys.
Yeah, lot 1, block 1. Yep, good question.
Okay, thank you.
The other one is in phase 2. This is phase 1.
Gotcha.
There's no questions, Mr. Mayor. I make a motion to accept the public dedication of easements, reserves, and right-of-ways per the final plat of Williams Williams Second Edition, Phase 1, and authorize for the mayor to sign the plat document to be recorded with Harvey County Register of Deeds.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That carries.
Oh, one thing I will note, sorry, that if you did notice, there is a reserve on there for a ponding area that will be privately held. That won't be public, so that won't be the city's responsibility.
Okay,
That will
good,
fall
good.
to the property owner.
Very good.
So,
Okay, and that brings us to 2026 STO and UPOC updates.
these are largely housekeeping ordinances. So for those of you newer, basically annually, the League of Kansas Municipalities goes through and incorporates any changes that have gone through the legislature that update the STO, which is the Standard Traffic Ordinance, or the UPOC, which is the Uniform Public Offense Code. We incorporate both of those lists and book of ordinances basically into our own city code by reference. So these two ordinances adopt the 2026 update, which again just reflects any legislative changes that might have been needed or passed at the state level during the year. I don't know if Brad knows of any specific major changes that came out this year, but
Nothing particularly material this year, some years was more than others. The other element of this is, the municipal court is always what's called limited jurisdiction. We deal only with misdemeanors and traffic offenses, and that's the extent of it. We don't deal with any kind of felony matters or anything in terms of general, other than traffic offenses, juvenile matters, that sort of thing. So this gives us a book that basically deals with only the limited jurisdiction types of offenses, makes it simpler to work with, references those things, and because it's incorporated into our codified system, our code, we don't have to go through and re-adopt all of this and reinvent the wheel every year. We just reference the particular current year's standard traffic ordinance and uniform public offense code, and then we're current with current law.
Well, we do this every year, like you said. So, Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve ordinance number 1361, an ordinance amending the code of the city of Halstead to incorporate by reference the standard traffic ordinance of Kansas City's 2026 edition.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, and that carries.
Secondly, Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve ordinance number 1362, an ordinance amending the code of the city of Halstead to incorporate by reference a uniform public offense code for Kansas cities of 2026 edition.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, that carries. Number 5, set 2027 budget public hearing time and date.
So in your packet is the notice that would be published in our newspaper of record, the Harvey County Now, that sets September 2nd at 7 o'clock for the budget public hearing as required by state statute. This coincides with the same evening that the revenue neutral rate hearing would also be held. They has, again, what gets published, that 78.872 mill rate becomes the new ceiling, if you will, so you will still have the option in the course of the public hearings and afterwards, if you would want to adopt any rate that is lower than that, you just can't adopt a budget that would have a higher rate than that 78.872, which again is about a third of a mill decrease from the 2026 mill rate in terms of that, but we are, even at that rate, taking in more property tax revenue. I will also note with our meeting changes and things, we do also have the ability that after our on Wednesday, September 2nd, if for some reason you do want further work or review on the budget document, we do have the second meeting in September that would actually be the deadline date for when you would have to formally adopt the budget. So you would have time to consider comments made if you would so choose, or you can take action that evening after deliberations. So just to kind of lay out that timeline for you all.
Well, I don't know if anybody else, we've been talking about it for weeks, so I'll go ahead and make the motion. If there's no questions or discussion.
Second?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to set a public hearing for the proposed 2027 budget for the city of Halstead on Wednesday, September 2nd, 2026 at 7 p.m. and authorize publications of required public notices for revenue neutral rate and budget public hearing with the proposed 2027 budget summary.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Unanimous, that carries. Number 6, city partnership sponsorship KPTS and KLCH Gala.
So included in your packet were just two requests that we have in the past previously funded, one for the KLCH Gala. The city has normally done a diamond level sponsorship of that event, and the other is the KPTS partnership. Just bringing these forward to you all in light of some of the conversations we've had during the budget work sessions to, have you guys either indicate to staff whether you want to continue these or look at not continuing them, so.
We budget for these?
Yes.
I'm okay with keeping them both.
Do you wanna
This-
come up and, can he come up and talk to us?
No,
Is
I
that
would
okay?
like-
Mayor,
yeah.
can he come up and talk to us?
Yes, he can.
Sorry, Mr. Young is here for the Learning Center, so if,
Just tucked back here in the corner.
that's okay. I was like, I thought that was you, and then I was like, when they, yeah.
Can you hit that button on the mic? Sorry, you're good.
Oh, that's fine. I'm John Young. I'm the program coordinator and also the senior program coordinator at the Learning Center. I'm kind of in charge of scheduling all the senior programs that Donna was talking about earlier, speakers and everything. So we've appreciated over the years of the partnership and the sponsorship from the city for the Learning Center to help us educate more kids, keep more health education courses going, and also keep the costs down for schools. And we're hoping to for your support to kind of continue that for this year, so we can continue to do that and continue to build on kind of some of the new exciting things we've got going. And if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. This year, our gala is going to be November 6th at the Ivory Chateau in Newton is where it's going to take place this year. So
Where is that at? The Ivory Chateau?
Ivory Chateau, it's in Newton.
Where at?
I'm not exactly sure of the address myself. I was not one of them that got to go over and look at it, so, but they had went over and looked at it, so.
Everybody's looking it up.
Yeah.
I know
I've looked
where
at, it's a really nice venue, but,
Yeah.
I know where they used to have it, but over there,
yeah, but we would appreciate any help those
Yeah,
sponsorship.
do you
would be
have,
good.
how many schools come through there? I mean, I know Halstead, we come in there, but like, I have a roundabout number approximately, like, would you, if you were guessing?
The exact number of schools, I couldn't tell you, but I know last year, we served schools all the way from Nebraska border to Colorado border to, I was trying to think of the number.
You guys
of-
travel out too.
We travel, we travel, we take our health education classes to, pretty much all the way to northwest Kansas, to places that you haven't even heard of sometimes, and some of those small towns, and bring some of those, educational courses to them that they couldn't, afford to bring their, here, so.
Yeah.
That's
In the
pretty good to
past,
know.
it's been the neighborhood of about 23 to 25,000 kids.
Yeah, I think you're probably close
get
into some of
services
that.
here. And you're hard pressed to go by the center any day where there's not at least 1, 2, maybe 3 buses, from the surrounding area. I'm grateful they started, because I have a stepdaughter that works at an elementary school in Wichita. They come out here.
Mm-hmm, you get a lot of schools from this.
And that hasn't happened for very long. Jim and I probably have a special connection with the Learning Center, and my connection probably goes a little bit longer than Jim's.
yes, it does.
But 1994 to be exact, so, yeah. It's great work what they do. To me, but other than the Senior Citizen Center, you'd be hard pressed to find an institution in this town that meets the ideals of a public purpose better than the Learning Center.
Yeah. I really appreciated the summer programs and camps you did with the kids, and really continuing to evolve and provide great learning opportunities throughout the year. So thank you guys for that.
Yeah, camp was a lot of fun with the kids, and we had really good response in the senior program. We've just every week continued, there's more and more there, and that's going really well, so we're really excited about that as well.
Very cool. And thank you for being here too.
No, I'm in favor of supporting these also, both of these. I actually find myself, I'll come down Main Street and I'll see several buses. I realize I'm actually smiling because, yeah, that's great, so no,
It is.
I'm happy to help support that.
See,
Thank
I'm
you
the
so
old
much.
timer. I remember when it was the Kansas Learning Center or the Halstead Health Museum and the Hertzler Research Foundation. At one time, they funded research, and I know Dr. O'Grady was one of them. There was a recipient of the research funds for blood at this hospital. So, yeah. Dr. Hertzler had a good mission
There was,
and a good legacy.
there's a lot behind it, so, and we also
Sure
appreciate
does.
people that come help us with the yard once in a while, too.
Yeah. My wife got mad at me. I'm glad I finished what I did, because I think any longer I would have been in real trouble in that heat.
Oh, no. Thank
All
you,
right, well,
John,
thank you
for
for the
being
opportunity to
here.
visit with you.
Yeah, thank you.
Looking for a motion.
No, I guess it's just consensus?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just consensus, yeah.
this is not the annual thing. I mean, this is just a
We need,
gala.
Yeah, this isn't like, for the Learning Center, no, it's not their annual, like what we
No.
budget.
Right, no.
We just, before we even started that budget line item,
That's what
we've been a
wanted to
gala sponsor.
Define that definition here.
Yeah.
We're just a thumbs up or a thumbs down on this one.
Yeah, yeah. I'm good with this one. Yeah.
And buy some raffle tickets. You never know much of what you might win.
yeah, it's fun.
And I will note, on the KPTS, and again, hopefully you guys saw the letter there, and they kind of lay out the various things that are covered with that partnership. But I will say, in the past, and this year, maybe we'll ask them to do, like for the Positively Kansas, 1 year, we try and find something specific to Halstead for those that's not necessarily city-related. So, I mean, 1 year we did do the bridge remodel and kind of a thing on the bridge, but We did the Arts and Crafts Fair, maybe this year when they call us and say, what a suggestion, we can talk about, featuring the senior center and their pepper nut sales, because I know that's a big thing, to help, again, promote the community as a whole, not just
Sure.
we're the city, so.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to number 7 that we've added, treasurer report.
We just got these, and the main reason we wanted to get them added to the agenda is that quarterly treasure report does get published in the newspaper per state statute. So this will allow us to get that published if you guys get it approved. In the timeline, we will have a formal financial report for you next meeting that covers the information therein. Just a couple of things I will note. We did add under the liabilities, the lease purchase, so that is showing up as a outstanding liability, since that is a new financial piece for us as we've come into this. And so then, going forward on the monthly, you'll see the dump truck on there as well. But largely just looking for motions to approve all 3 of these reports. Normally, it would have been in your consent agenda, but we got balanced today or Monday, so.
And if I may add, for some of you newer members, I don't think we've ever explained it, but a lot of you guys always express interest on where we're at with that gas loan. And that is actually noted on here in the other debt liabilities. It's in the current balance that we owe on that as the end of July is $614,714.33. So next month, when you receive your report, we will have officially broken the 600,000 mark.
Thank you, Julie.
Yeah, thank you.
And I actually do appreciate your input when you have something to say, because I know it's pertinent at the time, so thank you. Does anybody want any more time? Jen Smith, she's great at this, and
She's been, how long has Jan been doing that?
As long as I've been here.
As long as I was here.
Long
So, long time.
Yep. And she's awesome to work with. I appreciate her very much.
Pretty sure ever since, it used to be, I believe, Jim
Yes.
Will before that.
Jim
so
Will,
yeah.
I believe
Yeah.
Jan's done
I
it
think
ever
he
since.
was in there
Yeah.
Yeah.
couple years before he passed away. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to approve the treasurer's report as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. And with that, we go to executive session.
I move that the Halstead City Council recess into executive session to discuss potential business expansion plans of a corporation pursuant to the confidential data relating to the financial affairs or trade secrets of corporations, partnerships, trusts, and individual proprietorships, exception KSA 754319B4. And ask that in addition to the governing body, the following persons and join the governing body in executive session: the city manager and city attorney. The open meeting and governing body to reconvene in the city council chambers at 8:30 PM.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have a motion,
You're good. Now.
motion to come back into order?
No, we don't need one, no.
Don't need that?
You don't need to do that.
No action, taken, no action needed.
That's it.
Governing body comments. Shauna, you seem to know everything that's going on.
Mercy.
Wow. Oh, man. No, back to school is off and running, and it's been a good start. It's been great to see all the kids back in the buildings, and I know the parking situation and the street situation. I just travel with patience and extra awareness, and a little bit maybe slower than you normally would, for these first month or so. And I think once everyone kind of gets things figured out, we still have construction equipment out and about in our parking lots doing some finalizations. So, I think the name of the game right now is just allow a little bit of extra time, travel slowly, and just have patience, because I think a lot of people have worked really hard to do the best they can to set everyone up for success. But the reality is, as we all know, sometimes, we have to audible and pivot. And I just think if everyone can be a little bit patient with that and kind through that, and we're really glad that the kids are out there. They're coming to school, they're riding their bikes, they're walking. So they're coming from everywhere. So watch the streets, watch the corners, look out for people on bikes and scooters and walkers. And but we're glad to be back in the swing of things. Our Big Blue Night kicks all of our activities off next week. So if you don't have anything going on Thursday, you can come up to the high school and check things out. There'll be food being served and music and volleyball, and then ending the night on the football field. So it's a great way to start off the year. So thanks to everybody that made those things happen. And I think it's going to be a great year.
Jim, what are you feeling?
I always say ditto to all the school stuff that Shauna brought up, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. Little reminder that we've been talking about the budget quite a bit, and we as a council have met several times in work sessions, so it's not lightheartedly taken when we look at the budget and see what we can and what we think we ought to do. And I just want to remind folks that we do the best we can to provide the best service that we can for the community at the most prudent rate. That's what I got.
Speaking of the budget, I'd like to say to the citizens that the city is actually holding the line. And no matter what we do, your taxes on your house are going to go up. And we do have some enormously expensive things that we're gonna pay off here over the next 5 years. And we have a sewer system that's gonna be terribly expensive. And to think about trying to reduce the taxation for the city, in my feelings, it's just not something we should proceed with, just in case the state of Kansas really throws a rock in the gearbox. George?
Well, it seems like a couple of us have the same thing on mind here. Working on the budget. Thank you so much to staff, Ethan and Julie, and the rest of you for the tremendous amount of time you guys are putting into to putting this thing together, and it's definitely not something that's taken lightly. All of us here making these decisions are part of this community also. We're subject to everything that you're subject to. So we're impacted the same. And we sit in a position where we some of us been on here for quite a while, and we kind of know the tribal history of what's going on with a lot of things, and so I really do believe we're making the most responsible choices on this subject here.
Roger? Any thoughts?
Yeah, as far as budgets and taxes, taxes paid and spent locally are your best tax dollars. If you really want to get mad about taxes, I'd suggest going after income taxes and federal and all the waste that goes on there. But in order to save a mill or two, we'd end up having to do something pretty drastic like not repair roads. And so I don't think any of us really want to do that for the little bit of savings that people I don't think would even really notice all that much. It'd have a pretty low impact on your pocketbook versus what you'd see on your roads, and then we'd fall behind on those repairs. So it's simply the situation we're in, and like George said, we're trying to do the best that we can, and given what we have. Beyond that, yeah, 6th Street.
Learning curve.
Yeah, I'll be the first to make a motion at some point in time to go back to normal if I thought we had other people who'd back me up on that one, but we'll let that ride for a little bit.
Well, I thought of that, but that's another conversation.
I'm definitely not a fan, and it's played out pretty much how I was figuring it would play out. And I think we'll wait and see how the construction goes, and once things calm down and people get used to it. Yeah, what a mess. Other than that, that's all I got.
Charlie?
I want to give extra thanks to the police department for their travels up and down 6th Street the first 3 days of school this year. And for me on 6th Street, it's been a heaven send, for me personally in my job at a crossing guard. Big Blues next Thursday. Come enjoy the fun. The Brick Street Arts and Crafts Fairs, October the 3rd. Put that on your calendars. And if you're interested, there's a Groundwater Management Board meeting tomorrow at 9:30. And you could zoom in on that one if you want to. Had a thing came up with one of the people come across the crosswalk and said, you know what? This is on one of the afternoons when it was really hot. I said, we need a splash pad at Scout Park. The kids are going, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, I bet you do. And I told them, that's what, I'd bring it up, but that's a pretty good size expense, and maintenance is a challenge. And one of the things they were disappointed in, and I know it happens everywhere, the pool's closed up and it's 106 degrees when the kids get out of school. And I know who's staffing the pool, and I know who the lifeguards are, those kinds of things. So that's a tough situation to get around in a town this size. And not kind of tongue in cheek, but she sent it to me and meant it. One of our citizens was driving to Wisconsin today, take her daughter back up there. And she went through a town, and starting September the 1st, all kids have to wear helmets and reflective vest. No matter what kind of bicycle you're riding, you gotta have them. And I talked to the chief about that. I said, in the evening, that's probably a good thing. If a kid's gonna go through your windshield, let his helmet go through, not his head. But at least with, hey, I've seen it happen, come on. Seriously. But as far as the reflective vest, yeah, at nighttime, that would be cool. That would be cool. So,
Good stocking stuffer.
okay, I'm done.
Okay. Moving on to the city manager.
I know, really quick, Ethan, sorry. I did want to congratulate, the Halstead Community Foundation for reaching their goal, of their $200,000 over the last couple of months. I know they were working really hard on that, so I think
Amazing.
they do so much for our community. I appreciate that so, so much. And, so everyone that contributed and all of the efforts, I just want to congratulate the community on that. And I look forward to all the great things that will come from that. So I wanted to make sure and shout out to them.
Thank you.
No, largely, with budget wrapping up, that's taken up a lot of staff time. Just finishing and refining the budget, and we'll get that approved, and thank you for the kind words. Again, it's your guys' budget, so we just try to reflect the priorities that you've asked to be reflected in that. Because at the end of the day, it's a spending plan, but it's also a policy document. Other than that, we are still working with BNSF on North Street, still trying to push that as fast as we can push. We did unfortunately find out that our TA grant application for the Oswald Lehman Park area was not chosen to be funded this year. That is a pretty competitive grant at the state level. So we'll obviously get the feedback from the state on what they felt were deficiencies in our application, and we'll work with the consultant that has been helping with that project and try and refine and go. And they're obviously still looking at other avenues per our agreement with them to fund those improvements. The state did announce another round of seed grants, so we are working on a potential project to hopefully present to you all for feedback and consideration to apply this year. It's very preliminary, and we're meeting with some members of the community to further flesh that out, but we're hoping to go for another seed grant application at least for a community project. Our mural project hopefully will be starting very soon. There's some slight stucco repairs that are needed, and that was a commerce grant that Julie applied for and was awarded. So we're excited to finally see that mural go up, which will be on the north wall there of Halstead Chiropractic, and we're excited to, see that. We think the community will like the design that was chosen, and we'll continue working on that. We have to have that done by the end of the year, so that's our deadline there. And other than that, now that budget's slowing down, we hope to see turnaround at the end of this month. We're expecting our Safe Streets for All RFP responses to come in from any interested parties there, so we'll get that subcommittee reviewing and continue that process. And I think those are all regarding our long-awaited ambulance, we are hoping that in the next 2 to 3 weeks, it will actually be here. I told Andy, just don't call me until it's actually in the bay, but just because it seems, it's been years. So, but we're very excited that it sounds like it's not, or it's moving from North Carolina to Missouri for some final decaling and outfitting, and then it will come from Missouri to us. So the fact it's moving out of North Carolina is a very positive sign. But we've got that there, and then everything was finalized on the dump truck lease purchase and documentation there. So we have added that to the books, and that was one of your continuing disclosure acknowledgement, and the consent agenda was acknowledging us just making all of our anyone that holds City of Halstead debt as part of their portfolio can go to the MSRB website and see that we issued that debt. So that is all I have this evening.
Before you adjourn, I'm terrible at keeping secrets, so this mural thing has been very difficult, and I can't wait for it to be up so everybody can see it.
Motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
We are adjourned.